Welcome back to the DJ Sessions, where we feature the best DJs and producers from around the world. I'm your host, Darren, and right now I'm sitting in the studios, in the virtual studios for the virtual sessions, all the way in Seattle, Washington. And on the other end, on that side of the Zoom, we have none other than Vincent Calderon. I hope I said that right.
That's it.
From Teddy Cream, coming all the way in from Australia today. Thank you for coming on the show today, Vincent.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, we were talking a little bit before the show and just wanted to mention that you are one half of Teddy Cream and your partner,
Brandon,
that's right. Brandon is out doing awesome, famous, cool stuff today. Couldn't make it in, but we want to thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and very excited to be here.
Absolutely. And you two have been friends since about 2010. Were you two always into electronic music, or was that something you both kind of grew into?
Yeah, so we basically at that time, electronic music was taking over the world. So as a teenager, you couldn't be anywhere without hearing it. So it was really what was popular at the time. We both really enjoyed it. So that's how we got into it.
My background, I'm a little bit older than you probably, just a little bit. And, my background was I was listening to a lot of rap music and hip hop at the time in the States and in the early 90s. And, I'd always been a fan of electronic music, but it wasn't mainstream. Even when I had one of my first jobs working at a record store, well, I guess it wasn't a record store. It was more of a CD and tape store. But the shelf for the electronic music section was very small. I mean, we're talking maybe 2 or 3 rows of CDs, maybe a few cassettes, and they were always mix albums or mixtapes of like, I remember DJ Kyoki had one, and I think Tiesto might have had one, or some maybe Tiesto was around that. But I remember this electronic music section was not really there, and it wasn't until 1992 I went out to my first nightclub and saw my first DJ play and was like hooked to the dancing, the music, the culture, and it was still very underground at that time. So and then I transferred, and I would have my city friends that I'd go to the nightclubs to electronic music with. But when I was rolling back at home and cruising in my Cadillac, it'd be the hip hop music with the 215s in the back. Like I would never cross two separate kind of lives. So it was always interesting, of growing up. But eventually I grew out of that and moved into more electronic music and all that stuff. So, it's just interesting to see, where you started. Were you always into that? And,
as we kind of grew up, we got into all different types of music. Still loved electronic music, but then listened to a lot of bands, worked with a lot of bands and stuff like that, which is really cool because you don't see too many people blend indie rock or alternative rock with electronic music, where things like rap and hip hop are kind of blended these days with electronic music, and it sounds really cool. So there's plenty of inspiration out there.
Definitely. And I know you probably get this a lot, but for our DJ Sessions fans that don't know this, what's the story behind the name Teddy Cream? Where did that come from?
Completely random. Like it was, we kind of wanted something like Duck Sauce. If you remember, I think Armor Van Helden and A-Track were Duck Sauce. And they made that song Barbra Streisand, and we really liked their name. Their name was really, really cool. So we wanted something kind of similar. And we randomly came up with Teddy Cream.
Nice.
So, yes.
Now, is one of you Teddy and the other's Cream though, or
no,
how
we
does that work?
All the time? No, it's a name encompassing both of us completely. So no one is separated in the naming.
Nice. I just had to ask. Our viewers want to sometimes know these things.
Of course.
What was your strongest, or both of yours strongest motivation to pursue a career in music?
Honestly, we were about 14, 15 when we started, just playing like underage shows, no real pressure. As soon as we did turn 18, we were pretty much straight into the club scene and were able to like sustain it. And then we just got the opportunity to keep going with it. So we didn't have there was no big turning point or risk. It kind of just like naturally progressed and constantly kept working. And it was getting bigger and bigger every year. So it was really, really cool. Like we had this great opportunity where we were doing really well, and there was no sort of pressure to perform, and it just came all naturally. That's how we kind of stayed into it and kept progressing and just keep doing, because it's a lot of fun.
And what gear were you originally first playing on? I mean, this is only a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago. I'm sure there were CDJs out there, but did you start out with, I'm on the Pioneer 1000s and I got the best gear at the time? Or were you like with Newmark gear practicing in your bedroom and playing with the,
Actually,
the other?
no. I bought a pair of, I think we bought a pair of CDJ 800s, which are like the silver versions, which are like a lot cheaper because at that time the Pioneers were, and they still are, like $10,000 a set here. That is super expensive. But we had the 800s. We'll just practice on those. And then it got to the point where we were playing so many club shows. Like we played that many shows that there's no need for us to have them at home. We can pretty much practice while we're there. We're playing, sometimes 2, 3, 4 times a week, depending if we're on tour and stuff. So now we don't own any equipment. But when we did start, it was the 800s, and we'd play in the clubs and it'd be the 1000 Mark IIIs.
Yeah, nice. Awesome. Yeah, DJs start in their bedroom. They start with all sorts of things. I've had DJs tell me I used to mix cassette tapes and try to mix the beats together on cassette tape, or they'd have two CD Walkmans next to each other. Yeah. I've heard DJs using Windows Media Player and trying to take 2 different computers and playing Windows Media Player back and forth, and all these crazy setups until technology advanced to get them up and running. So it's always interesting to find out what gear people started playing on and what they prefer to use. You started younger, obviously in your teenage years. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given starting out as a teenager in this, but moving forward into becoming as successful as you are?
I don't know. The best piece of advice I could give is just do it. Like there's no right or wrong way to do it. But no one's ever really given me advice before, to be honest. I would just do whatever you feel like doing.
I think that's a great mission. That's a great cause. Is just, if you're sitting there contemplating doing something, just go do it. One of my more favorite lines from a philosopher person that I really respect is Alan Watts, and it's kind of like, if you just do something, you're going to find other people out there that like what you do, or you're going to gravitate towards those people, and then you're going to learn, and you'll surround yourself and have a positive environment doing what you do with those people. And eventually maybe you could get good enough if you keep doing it and charge a fee for it. Start to make a living doing it, because everybody's interested in something. You just got to kind of find those people. And I listen to that monologue that he gives probably at least once or twice a year and share it with people all the time. And that falls right into that. Just do it. Go out there, put your life on the line, and just kind of make it happen. So that's a good piece of advice there. Just do it. What would you consider the biggest break that launched your DJ careers would be? I
honestly don't think there was a massive break per se. There was a few little moments where our videos on Facebook would blow up and stuff like that, but it was always kind of a steady snowball rather than a massive explosion and then nothing afterwards. It was kind of so it's always just constant videos going up, or a few songs did relatively well, but there was never a massive explosion. So it's just like a snowball effect, which is really, really cool, because you can kind of change your whole brand or your sets around what you're doing at the specific time, so you don't have to be known for one thing. And that's what's really helped us stay alive for 5-10 years instead of 2 or 3, which does happen in some cases.
Definitely. And have you had a chance? And sometimes I talk about this all the time with people. I don't get a chance very often to kind of turn around and look in the past and see all the work that I've done, or the accomplishments, or even just changes and things. It kind of, when I look back now at my old work and the shows and the DJ sessions just started, and you go, we were streaming that live, that quality was passing, this was allowed to be done, to bringing it up to speed. It's just kind of interesting seeing that evolutionary change. Has there been an evolutionary change with Teddy Cream over the years, whether it be in a genre of music or a style of show or anything that? Have you got a chance to ever look back and say, I can't believe we used to wear this or do this on stage, and we don't do that anymore, and we do this now?
The costumes is like we got some pretty serious dress up costume type stuff. And we still wear it, to be fair. But no, the music that we play completely changed, obviously, and it still completely changes because it has to. You know, the direction that we wanted to go at the start is completely different to the direction we ended up going now, and the direction that we've gone down. And it wasn't it was just a natural progression. It was never really a choice. It was what we, you know, you got bored of playing the same repetitive stuff, so we moved on to a little bit different, a little bit newer. Yeah, like we completely 180'd or 360'd what we started with, because it was just the right decision at the time, and it wasn't even a decision, it just kind of happened naturally. And I think it did happen all for the best. So,
and were your fans receptive to that, or were they oblivious to it and just kind of kept going with the changes, or was there any blowback?
Look, it's a really good scene here, but a very loyal scene to a specific, especially in Melbourne. Our club scene has their own music, and it's really cool. It's awesome to go out in, and we did start in that club scene as we kind of gravitated towards international tours, and that music wasn't really massively acceptable over there. But we were, you know, 2 or 3 years in that club scene, we were getting on, we were doing different things. So those fans that we had there were a bit not as happy that we kind of did go down a different path. But for us, it was, you know, if we wanted to take our music to the world type thing, it was the way that we had to do it. So it wasn't really a decision. It was just, like I said, a natural progression, but I still did annoy a few people that were purists in our club scene, which is fine. It's totally understandable because, you know, that we started there, and it does get annoying when people do that, but it is what it is.
And you mentioned you're from Melbourne, or you're based in Melbourne right now. Yeah. One of my good friends just moved down there. Shout out to Jonathan Bates and his wife, Gina. Good friends of mine just moved down there. It was going to be one of my first passport stamps for 2022. Still waiting on accomplishing that. It's on the plane. We're actually going to be going the other side of the world. We're headed to Sonar and ADE this year. Plans for that. So we'll be in Europe this year, but definitely want to get down to Melbourne and check that out. What has been, when you're out to tour and everything, what has been your favorite city to actually play in?
There are so many, and everyone's so different. In Australia, Adelaide's really, really good, which is a really unknown, like not many people know about Adelaide, but it is a really, really good city with a great nightlife. It's not huge, but the nightlife's amazing. But if we go all around, probably Belfast in Northern Ireland. Okay. Which is where we live over there. Well, we used to live over there before COVID for half the year, and tour Europe from a house in Belfast. Okay. And their shows and events and their crowds are unbelievable, like really, really insane. I do say to everyone, you have to go there one day, and just the nightlife is amazing.
And you almost took the next question, like you're a mind reader or something here. Have you ever considered moving to another country? And you kind of mentioned that you live half the year when you could over in Belfast. Have you ever considered moving and relocating permanently to another country? And if so, where would that be? It almost sounds like Belfast might be.
Look, it'd probably be, probably Belfast. I'd consider Amsterdam, but the price is just to live there is super expensive. That's the only problem. But I'd probably, if I did consider moving full on, I'd go to Belfast, but I wouldn't, only because for 6 months of the year, the Europe kind of not shuts down, but their club scene kind of stops in the winter years, where basically what we do, we go over there for the summer anyway, and then come back home to Australia where everything's open for the summer here. So the way that we work before COVID was really, really cool.
That makes total sense. And that's awesome. And you played literally countless large scale events. And we all kind of know what happens on stage because people are watching. You watch what's going on. Can you give us some insights of any crazy stories that, like, something that piques your mind of something that's happened backstage at some of your events?
I got a decent story from when we were playing 2 shows in one night. I think it was from Belfast to Dublin. That's where we were going. So Belfast, Northern Ireland, Dublin, South Island, in Ireland. Obviously there in the winter it's freezing, and this was in the winter. So we were there in February, finished one show, we had a car transfer and we had to gun it. So we had no choice. We knew that we were going to be short on time. So we were telling the driver, go. On icy roads, one single lane road. And he's got, I think he had a Skoda Octavia. That's right. He had a Skoda Octavia and gunning it. I reckon we've hit about 120, 130 kilometers, which on those roads, it doesn't sound fast, but on those roads is really quick. Bumps on the road. And then next thing you know, he's just completely skidded out, 360 fishtailed. And we were sitting in the back seat. Well, oh my God. Managed to pull the car back into the lane. All right, we'll go slower. We won't do that anymore. And then next thing, within 30 seconds, a massive semi-trailer, 18-wheeler just pulls past, and we all looked at each other, we stopped, and we were just like, oh my God. Yeah, we were freaking out about it, but we were all safe. But we had we thought, okay, we won't do that anymore. If we get there a little bit late, we get there a little bit late. So
yes. A crazy relatable story to something like that I had happen to me about 20 years ago. I was touring with a band in our area over the mountains, we're in kind of a temperate, moderate zone over here. Don't get a lot of snow. And when it does, everyone freaks out when we get an inch of snow. But over on the other side of the mountains, it can get a little snowy and cold out. We're coming back from the tour of me filming the band at night, and we're in like a Volkswagen van again with a bunch of the band members. And I'm kind of sleeping in the back. And all of a sudden I hear the driver up front. He's like, oh, I'm losing control. And he gets up. He goes, nope, we're okay. He goes, nope, dude, we're going off the road. And I was laying down. The van goes off the road, multiple rolls over, right? So we all kind of get out of the car, get out of the van, and we're kind of standing there, and little bumps and nicks and bruises, not too bad. Well, I pull out I start walking backwards towards the officer because now police have shown up. And as I'm walking towards the officer, about, maybe a good 500, 600 feet away, there's a bridge. That's what happened. There was ice over the bridge, and we had slid over the ice over the bridge because it gets cold underneath, and we went off the road after the bridge. Well, I'm walking back towards, and there's the officer walking towards me. His car's up the road. He's walking towards me. So his back's this way. I'm walking this way, and the car wreck is back behind us. Over the bridge comes an 18-wheeler semi. As it's coming over the bridge, the back of the semi, right as it crosses the bridge, starts to turn like this on the road. So the semi is going like this, and the back of the thing's going like that. And I'm watching this like Final Destination going, we are all about to fucking die. Oh, sorry. Well, it's our eye interview. We are all about to die right now. And all of a sudden, at the last possible moment, the semi-trailer goes flat and just starts going right down the road. I mean, it was completely in the other lane. And the officer didn't even know what was going on. And I'm looking at him going, did you see that? Yeah. And he's like, I didn't see anything. And I mean, it was the freak, because if it would have just caught and went off the road, he would have tumbled and wiped us all out.
Gone.
Just completely wiped us all out. No way to get around it. Yeah, because I mean, it's a huge. So same kind of similar experience being on the road, traveling from show to show. Yeah, I can relate to that kind of Final Destination kind of thing. Scary crap. But we're here not to talk about. Yeah, no icy roads. I try to avoid those. I like the plague now. That's why I like to fly everywhere.
Yeah.
And I'll fly. I'll take a puddle jumper next time. $50 in a plane, or I'll take a train. Okay, I'm cool. But going back to on stage, off stage, do you two become a different persona or a different personality when you get on stage?
No.
Or are you the same on and off stage?
We're pretty full on off stage, and we're very full on stage, and there's really no difference between that. Like you won't even we won't go quiet when we get off stage. It's from the second that we usually get to a show, it's 100%, 120%, and then once we get off stage, depending on the show, it can get up to 150, 200% if the show was really good. So there's definitely like an after rush for us, like after especially a good show, we're like all amped up. We're like, oh, so we're just as crazy and like even our live sets, they are pretty full on high energy. So they're not long sets where your Carl Cox will be standing there for 3-4 hours unbelievably. Every song is perfected, and he knows what he's going to bring in an hour's time. Like he's just an absolute magician, essentially. Where our sets are a little bit different, more high energy. It's not really about the mixing as such and the specific songs. It's about the way that we're playing them. So yeah, it's 100% energy and stays like that the whole time.
And do you ever get to be playful with that energy? I mean, does it turn into maybe like you make practical joke with each other or have some fun like with that energy afterwards, and just like it's just still we're on the road, it's a blast, like you're almost never off stage in a sense? Is that what
it's exactly, yeah. We play practical jokes on stage. we have an absolute, no, we look, more than anything, we have an absolute blast on stage. We have so much fun, and that kind of translates to I think that type of a job, or this type of a job especially. If you're not having fun, then they're not going to have fun. And it's they will only read off you. So we have a lot of fun together. So even if there was no one in the crowd, me and Brandon would have a heap of fun just playing songs anyway. So if there's people there, it's even better.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the more bigger stage presence things that sometimes you have to kind of learn that. I mean, I know people like Darude will post up little cards and people will post cards back, and he'll kind of have conversations with people in the audience. Yeah. Ever since one of the first DJs I saw by the name of Donald Glaude, one of the things he would do, I thought this is how normally DJs were for a while, because it was one of the only DJs I'd really go see in the clubs, that, he'd bring the volume down and just be like, make some fucking noise, people, and then crank it back up, and the crowd would just go insane. And so I would go see other DJs and go like, why aren't they interacting with the crowd? Why aren't they doing something? They're just mixing and they're just doing this. You're not, and that's what I think made such an impression on me with Donald, like that interacting with the crowd, or the DJs that do interact with the crowd that way to build that audience participation or bring them in even one level closer or further to their enjoyment of what they're actually doing. I think that's an awesome thing to do. And so
there's always a time and a place for it. I think, like, for the shows that we play, it's absolutely acceptable for that. But there's, we went to Ibiza for just a holiday, and I could totally understand why it was about the music and just the music. The DJ was not secondary to it, but it was really about the music. And it was really, really cool that, like, you'd have uninterrupted music for 3 hours, where in our sets, it's not, we're not playing in Ibiza. It's a completely different vibe, and it's totally different. So I do get there's almost within DJing, there's so many different types as well, which is really cool. So it's a very diverse little field.
Yeah. And, it leads me right into one of my other questions I have, which is great. At clubs or other dance events, should people look at the DJs like they're rock stars, or would it be more fun if DJs were just more kind of anonymous and just part of the bigger event? What would be your take on that?
I don't know if it really depends. Like, I don't think they should be anonymous, because it is an amazing skill, as in, like, those DJs that do pick the music and, prepare a full-on journey almost for their audience. That is an unbelievable skill that absolutely deserves all the recognition it gets, because yes, people say you just mix the music, but the selections of the songs at the right time while everything is going, you've only got 20, 30 seconds to make that decision. And if these guys are hitting the right decision every single time, I mean, that goes to show that they're very well experienced and know their thing. So I think they should be recognized for it. But I think there should be a middle ground between a rock star and a part of the show, where it's not like, you're going out to flock to a DJ, because the festivals and the lighting is so much of the atmosphere. It should be like a middle ground where, yes, you're going to see the DJ, but you're also going to see these amazing lighting crews that are putting these huge lighting performances on, and the sound systems that you're getting, and even like Tomorrowland, like a stage setup. Now people are kind of going there just for the experience of what they've built over the last 4 or 5 weeks. I think they do it over. So I think, and that's kind of good that, the actual backstage crews are getting a lot of the credit that rock stars used to get, but now it's them, which is really cool. So.
Yeah, definitely. I went to EDC for my first time last year and was just completely blown away by the production value of everything that was happening there in so many ways. It was just a really awesome experience. I've been to some other festivals as well, and was blown away by the production value of what goes in. It's much different in a festival environment than it is in a nightclub environment. But still at all levels, there's always behind the scenes productions that are going on, trying to up the bar, up the experience overall. So got to give credit to kind of everyone out there.
There's a lot with, especially, now I forgot. Now Eric Prids, like his show production is, I've never seen it. That my jaw dropped when I was watching videos. It was unbelievable. Like, and that goes to, like, yes, he's a DJ, he's a musician, but he's also now stepping into the realm of lighting production and an experience that you're walking into, which I'm sure there's a big team behind helping him with that do get the credit for it. Because I mean, you see these videos online, and I was in shock at a couple of them. I thought, this is just, this is a whole new experience. You're changing essentially dance music with this. Like, this is a small step in a completely different direction, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, one of my good friends, we worked with them over a few years. I've known him for a very long time. One of the best lighting design companies on the West Coast here in the States, R90 Lighting, and Joe Cole and his team have actually done some design work for some of those bigger audio visual installations that are just mind blowing. You're just like, whoa. And what they come up with is just awesome, which leads me into the next question is, have you ever experimented with mixing audio and video at the same time? And if not, is that something you'd like to try out or get into?
We've actually spoken about this before, but so a lot of like the real big DJs, like a Steve Aoki and stuff, will have their own videographer, or not, a video DJ with them, and will sync up their songs. And it looks really cool. For us, I don't know if we'd like, it would kind of take away, our shows are pretty full high energy, and I think it would take away from it would take the crowd's attention away from what's going on. So have never really experimented with stuff like that. And I don't think we would want to. We just do like a basic visuals, and nothing kind of syncs up with each other. It's just more about the performance on our end. But I love that. I love the look. I love how it looks and how it perceives to the crowd. But for us, I don't think it would work quite well.
Understandable. I think you touched on a really great point there. You want the audience, you are the show, you are the visual, you are what's going on. You want the audience eyes on that, not, well, look at this flashing over here and they're missing what's going on over here. You're not doing you're not a David Copperfield, or what's the guy's name who always locks himself in the glass box. You're not doing a deflection technique, or you're not doing magic acts. I mean, well, it is kind of a magic act that you're doing on stage, making sure it all works out. But that's awesome. Yeah, I totally understand that. That makes total sense. Recently, you just had a track, A, B, C, D, F, U.
Yeah.
And was that I got that. I was listening to the Teddy Cream bootleg. So is that something you remixed? You worked with them on? Tell us a little bit about that track.
So we just so in our sets we play a lot of current music, but obviously you can't play the original songs because it gets a bit hard, it gets a bit tricky. It's all different BPMs, and then so we just kind of make a lot of remixes, bootlegs of songs that are current at the time, and we use them. Well, like we play them a lot throughout our sets. We put them online for people to download and stuff like that. But mainly they're just so we can actually play them through our sets, and have current songs that we know will kind of work with the kind of music that we play, because you can't always find the best remixes and bootlegs online that will fit your set perfectly. So at least if we make them, I know that we can play them and the crowd will like it, and they're there to see the type of music that type of music anyway. So it's perfect. Yeah, works out really, really well.
Awesome. And we were talking a little bit earlier about live streaming, about mixing audio and video together. Did you two ever decide to do anything with live streaming, or have you looked into that as a medium moving forward at all?
No, not really. Our sets are like, you have to, even for us, like, it's not as much fun. We want people there. It's the whole fun of the set. I think it's too difficult live streaming. I think people have tried it and they've had somewhat success, but only in the short term, because at some point people are just like, oh, okay, you know, if you're not there, you know, it's not anything to do with the DJs themselves. It's just the whole point of a DJ is to be dancing at a festival or a club, and you're just completely taken out if you're listening in your living room. I don't think it, it doesn't work long term. And I really hope that everything slowly, or not slowly, quickly goes back to normal, because a lot of people are really missing what they used to do.
Absolutely. You know, we definitely saw the boom or increase in live streaming of across the board with everyone in March, April of 2020. And it was just so interesting after doing a live streaming show featuring DJs, talking with DJs and doing all this in the studio, and watching that transformation of when DJs first would come in the studio, you know, 12 years ago, it was very hard for them because they didn't have the live audience participation to feed off of for their set. Yeah. And I would have to have the conversation with them and say, well, where do you normally practice at if you're not playing in front of a club? They go, in my bedroom. I say, okay, do you have fun when you do that in your bedroom? Yeah, but I'm allowed to make mistakes there. I'm not live in front of 100 or 1,000 people. I said, okay, well, what I want you to do is I want you to just have fun in the studio, and it will translate through to the audience. Yeah. And we can get feedback in the chat room. It was a very new process, because if you were doing a mix, say on the radio, okay, nobody sees you, nobody knows what's up, and you could actually, if you had it at the time, pre-record that mix and put it in on the radio, and nobody knows. And it's live at this time. And that's how I know a lot of radio stations were doing that. But when you're in a live streaming situation, people can get really critical about themselves. And I would have to tell them also, hey, just go with the flow. If you screw up, at least the audience knows that it's a live set and it's not pre-recorded. We aren't just hitting record or play on something and faking the funk back here. And as long as you don't train wreck too bad, if I don't give you the look, if I give you the look, then you know, like, what's going on over here? Maybe we should pull the set. You're not doing too well. You know, it's only happened like twice out of all the episodes I've ever done over 12 years. The
other thing is you're like super critical, and you're like, oh, you know what, if I'm not on beat all the time, unless you stop the music, short from stopping the music, no one would pick it up.
Yeah, exactly. And no one would ever get it. I mean, unless it's really, really bad. And that very rarely happens.
Yeah. But it's actually harder to do than it is to just normally meet. Like it's harder to really, you know, if you kind of know what you're doing, it's harder to make a mistake than it is to not.
Yeah.
You know, so like no one will pick it up. And but that's everyone by nature. They're super overcritical of themselves, thinking, I'm not doing this right. I'm not doing this perfect. Doesn't sound 100% spot on, but most people won't notice, and it will sound good. You just don't think it does.
Yeah. And that was one of the things too, with the energy, what we would call an energy transference. In the early days, I would stand next to the DJ while they were playing, and I would dance for 4 hours, like up and down. I almost had people turning into the show just to watch me and going, is this guy on drugs? How's he doing this? It's 4 hours. And I'd have like breaks where I could switch it to visuals and take a break and be like, okay. Aerobic workout number 4, back on, and I'd be bouncing, and people would tune in to watch that, because that would be a check and balance for the DJ to know the music was going good, but then the audience would also, they weren't just looking at somebody doing this on camera.
Yeah.
You know, no audience participation. And now, you know, we're in the phase of DJs where they're using the green screen backgrounds to let the visuals kind of do the action behind them, while they're still doing not really much on camera, or they're not interacting, or they're not chatting and talking with people. And that's a phase. We'll see the evolution of this work itself out.
What definitely was cool with the live streams is a lot of DJs were going to like exotic locations, high rooftops, like penthouse rooftops, or in nature. I saw a few from some of my friends in Belfast. They did it. His name was Shugs, and he did a live stream at a beautiful backdrop in Ireland, which was like on the mountains with rocks and stuff in the background. It was unreal. And I think they even had drones flying up there, going around him. Like, that was really cool. That was an awesome live stream. And it kept, you know, while you're actually DJing, you've got a beautiful view, and there's different angles and camera changes. And that was cool. I will say that was really awesome.
I would say you almost saw the cinematography take it up a notch, that the set became almost like a 1 or 2 hour long movie. And they are now a soundtrack to that movie of that footage that you're watching. Norm Pure did one that was just phenomenal. I hope I said that name right. Please, yes. Norm Pure. My friend turned me on to it, and the set was just phenomenal. They had the drone footage. They had her out in the middle of this big valley in the mountains somewhere. I could probably find it, but one of the ones we had come up with the idea for it, and then somebody went and did it. We were going to do a hot air balloon, and we were going to call it Got Air, or the hot air sessions, but it's a little costly to do this. But everyone started getting really creative with this stuff. And I even saw a guy, he jumped out of an airplane and he was strapped into a chair and he was DJing. I think he flew into Ibiza and was flying, and then lands the couch down and gets up and walks away from the couch. That's awesome. Just leaves the couch and he's parachuting down, man. It was, just some crazy stuff out there that I think really brought more attention to not only live stream, but what you could do as a medium and a visual presentation that the fans would love to have. And you can reach so many more people. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of live streaming. I'm also a huge fan of virtual reality and augmented reality, and what those experiences are going to be like moving forward.
100%. That's a whole different world. That will change. Probably maybe not even in my lifetime, but you can see that will change dance music forever. That will be. I've joined a few servers and stuff on just not through virtual reality, but through computer, obviously through the internet, and it looks awesome. But there's also there's now a massive app on Oculus that allows you to learn how to DJ.
I won't I won't say name said app because they aren't giving us any money to plug them. But I know what you. No, it's all good. It's Tribe. Tribe is.
I'm saying that it was it was spot on. Like it was the same. They really did a good job with it. So that will change.
It's kind of like one of those things. I've been doing a DJ show for 12 years, going out to nightclubs for 30 plus years. I've never learned how to DJ. And here they come out with Tribe. And I got a Quest sitting right over there on my couch. We're building our own virtual nightclub, all this fun stuff. I got other projects I'm working on the back end. And it's like, should I learn how to DJ and should I learn to use Tribe to do this? I heard it's a blast. I heard it's pretty damn awesome. And that's what I mean. Like that will change. That's unreal. So, I've been sitting back. I play a lot of Beat Saber to work out with. I just got Synth Riders and I love Synth Riders. Do you have an Oculus?
Yeah, I got one.
Yeah. So I just got Synth Riders and I was able to put in my own custom songs. They have a custom song library. People can put up and do all that. So I like Synth Riders a little bit better because it's a little bit more dancey than Beat Saber where it's, chopping, but I love them both. Yeah. But maybe I'll have to go look at Tribe now.
Check it out. Unreal. I just did it more for the I just wanted to see how accurate it was. I'm like, oh, this is pretty accurate,
Nice. Well, in that note, as far as technology goes, and the big rave right now that everyone's talking about is NFTs. And have you looked at doing anything with NFTs, or is that something that you're interested in?
I think enough people have done it, as in enough people are doing it. It's not really something I've really been interested in too much. I looked at them like a little bit at the start, but never really pulled the trigger on any of them. I do have a lot of friends that are into them and spending some serious money on them. So I'll wait for them to either make or lose their money before I dive into that world. But no, we wouldn't really make that's a lot of work involved actually making the Discord communities and the Twitter communities, and then I know you can get them made up almost generated, but still the graphic works, and then you've got to come up with like a backstory to the NFTs themselves. And there's a lot of work involved in that, and probably would rather get on the stick on the music side of things more than it'll take a lot of time out of studio work and stuff. So
absolutely, no, understandable. It's always the new technologies where it's like, where am I going to put my efforts? Where am I going to devote my time? What's going on? I might get 3-4 hours of sleep a night going from 6 a.m. till 1 a.m. And even then I'm in bed at 1 a.m. I probably don't fall asleep till 2. because and some people just like, how are you doing all this? I recently had one of my DJs come up to me and he was telling his husband how busy I am. And his husband's like, is that guy on drugs or something? Because there's no way one person could be doing that much, but I do pick and choose what I want to go after and make sure that we get into that. Just like we're now live streamers, but before that we were doing podcasts. Before that I was in broadcast television. And then before that I was on public access. So going through the medium of basically watching the evolution of distribution happen, I've always been on the forefront of that. And now seeing virtual reality and augmented reality come out. A lot of people know, they go, Darren, you're 10 years ahead of the game. You always have been. I've been watching you on the socials. You crack ground, and then 10 years later, everyone wants to pick it up and start doing it. And you're like, yeah, I've been doing this. What's going on?
I've been doing this for a while.
So, NFTs and that virtual reality, augmented reality is going to be something to watch for. It's definitely going to be kind of a game changer.
I'll be very interested to see how they tie in together. So obviously you buy your NFT and you have the rights to that on the internet or on whatever medium you use it on, but how it will tie into VR and AR will be really interesting. Like I'm sure it will, but just how it's going to work when there's, if you own so many NFTs, which one will people use? How can you rent them out to other people to use? Like it's going to be a really, really cool, different experience.
That's one of the things we're looking at, like with our nightclub, our version 1. Once we go to version 1.1, 1.2, we will include NFT art galleries where people can put up that artwork and say, you can buy that and curate almost a museum or art museum of different NFTs from around the world and say, would you like to list them in our galleries?
That's cool.
Our different rooms. So people walking through it, like, I like that. Okay, contact this buyer if you want to buy that NFT. And we could swap that out every month, which would then give the NFT community a reason to not only come to our nightclub for the music and then our past episodes and interviews that we do, but our live streams, but also the curated NFT work within the whole complex of the nightclub. Cool. I mean, that's just, I'm totally excited because I get to build in this like virtual world and bring it life to something that, you have an Oculus. If you don't have an Oculus, go get one.
They're
they're going to be that's just, you're at the beginning of the technology and you're going to see it just morph into something great. But, that's how we want to use it. But there's a million different ways you can use this stuff. My mom got one the other day. I got her on an Oculus and got her playing in some stuff. And she was just playing First Steps. I don't know if you played First Steps.
Yes.
And she's like dancing with the robot. And I'm watching my mom dance with the robot. She goes, oh my God, this game is so cute. He's so cute. I want to do it again. I want to do it again. And I'm like, and my mom's, she's 70 this year.
Yeah.
And
I put one on for the first time. I put one on for the first time, I think probably like 5-6 years. When the first Oculus Rift came out, my mate bought one. I said, put it on. I'm like, I actually went through Google Street View. Like my mind was completely blown. I was just looking around. Like I was just in there for hours, just looking at literally my street in virtual. It's unbelievable. It's great technology. And I think it will do a lot of good for everyone in every industry, but especially for DJ, it's really cool.
Yeah. And I can't divulge some of the stuff we're working on right now, but I have a developer that's really on some next level. He's the only one that's developed this kind of stuff. It's out there. He's tested it. It works. We're actually going to do some test runs with it in the next few weeks, get some demos of it out there. I mean, you mentioned Carl Cox earlier and he's working with a pretty big developer company. I believe the guy's out of Russia, and they created this world, and it's all, it's Solarium. I think, what is it? I can't remember the name of I should know the name of this, but what they're doing, we're a step ahead of that.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so just stay tuned to what's going on. We'll definitely be asking people. We'll be able to basically, in a nutshell, take you halfway around the world, put you into a virtual environment in any area that we want to around the world. So I could have you play. I could be having you play on an island in Hawaii. I could have you play a concert hall in London. I could have you play, but it's really you. It's you
inside the hologram.
basically as a 3D representation of you,
That's so cool.
a true version of you, not an avatar, but an actual you playing. Like I could walk up and look you right in the eye.
That's
And
cool.
I could walk around behind you, or if we allowed people to get up on the stage, so they'll be watching the real you, not an avatar or that what a lot of people say, that cartoon character avatar. Although this could be really cool, but it's some really cool shit. The technology's there. We're going to be launching it here and showing the world it here in the next month or two. We're excited for that.
Awesome.
Yeah. So speaking of success, stage, performing, doing all this stuff, NFTs, and looking towards the future, success sometimes doesn't last forever for artists. Is there something that you both do to save up for the future? What do you invest your earnings in?
Pre-COVID, it wasn't so much of an issue. It was still, going on. No, really just property. In Australia, you're pretty much told from when you're born, as soon as you got money, buy property, and they've never been wrong. That's like the safe bet here. It's, safe. It grows well, and you kind of left with something after, because you can't do this forever. It takes a big toll on your body, obviously, and stuff like that. But that, and I've built a nice, not a crazy studio, but I've started a relatively nice studio. So I'm doing a lot of mixing and production work for other people, singers, other songwriters, and stuff like that. So that's another stream you can go down as you step away from like actually touring. Because I do feel like even if you went into like the lighting and stage tech stuff, which I love, I used to do that when I was in high school, like know it really well, could definitely pick it up again, but it's still a touring life, like still long hours around loud music, around the same industry people, which is fine. But as you get older, a lot of people won't like to be in that position. So that's something I've always thought about. Like, if I'm a bit older, will I want to be in the position? Maybe not. So yeah, if you're in a studio and you can do work from home, essentially, it's where I'd head.
Do you think maybe a career path would be being like an agent or a label, or helping out other people that started out at your age and saying, oh, wow, here's something we're going to give back to kids, or we're going to, work with the younger generation and help to leave a legacy? That's one of the biggest things that we're working on now that we see is there's a lot of people that are still in the industry and they've done a lot of good for the industry. I mean, Carl Cox is still rocking it.
Yeah.
Well, he's, what's the legacy that some of these people are leaving behind? The bigger ones, usually have layers and layers and layers of people, but in some of the local scenes, some of these cats have been there for 20 years and they're not doing anything to foster the growth of the newer DJs coming out, and they're going to have to learn all their own, and they're not getting that tutelage or that knowledge, unfortunately. And I don't know.
For someone like Carl Cox is unreal. So he actually lives an hour away from me here.
That's right.
In Melbourne, Australia, in Frankston on the beach. We've, a few of our friends over in Spain have told us stories about how wonderful he was, and always really nice. And there's never a bad story about someone like him. But even when he came here, he's done so much work with young music students. He's gone into music. Like, we're talking like in Australia, he doesn't get the recognition that he really gets overseas. Like, people think they give him the recognition, but they really don't. Like, he is possibly the most influential DJ that's ever lived. Realistically, like, he's one of the most influential in the way that what he's done in Ibiza is unbelievable. What he did with Space was something never seen, almost never seen before. But he would just like rock up to music schools where the kids were learning to DJ and stuff like that, and just talk them through it and stuff. Like, the kids, we wouldn't really understand that as much here because we're from Australia, where he wasn't as big as he was overseas here. But yeah, someone like that with that type of status to start fostering the youth into how to DJ, it's unbelievable, and it's really, really cool. And it's something that I would like. I'm definitely not of that size, but I would think about doing that in the future for sure, which would be really cool.
Well, we're definitely going to have to take some time and get down there and visit you. Like I said, it was on my 2022 agenda to get a passport stamp from Australia, get down there, hang out. My friends, like I said, just made it down there, and they're all settling in down in Melbourne. So not too probably far away from where you're at right now.
No, probably not. It's not a huge place.
He was just celebrating his birthday a day or two ago. I said, have a pint on me. I'll be down there as soon as I can. It's great to see you. Is there anything you want to let our DJ Sessions fans know about before we let you get back to what you're doing down there?
We will soon be on tour, I hope. We've rescheduled about 6 times now, obviously, but no, this year is definitely for everyone across the industry. This year is definitely looking better. It's looking more stable than any other year after this Omicron wave kind of fades off, which is what we're all being told now. I think our industry will really, really do well. And I think a lot of people, as much as they've started going out a little bit, I think we'll see some of the biggest events either this year. If not this year, then definitely next year. But I think all the big festivals will be back. So it's really exciting. Yeah,
absolutely. And when you say go back out on tour, is that just going back over to Europe and being on tour? Or do you get stateside play as well?
So the problem, like we had so many stateside requests, so many, and it was really, really frustrating that we obviously, especially in Australia, how strict they are, we could not go. We basically would not be allowed back into the country at that point. Now it's a little bit different. So we're going to try and put something together for the States. And there was heaps of people asking, like a lot, especially through TikTok, because of our TikTok. So we're definitely going to try and put something together either this year or next, or late this year, hopefully. But we'll just wait and see for what happens.
Awesome. Well, if you get over here, you get to the West Coast, maybe we'll get together and hang out there. Absolutely. If not, if we're over in, if you are over in Europe, maybe if you get there for Sonar, you're there for ADE, we'll definitely contact.
ADE, I think we're going to try and be there for ADE this year.
Awesome. So it's late enough in the year because it's like in October, So I can't even get press clearance till June. They're like, no, we're not giving anything till June. I'm like, all right, fine. But we're definitely going to plan to be there on the ground and doing something. It was a pleasure talking with you, Vincent. Thank you so much. Where can people actually find out more information about Teddy Cream?
All of our socials, so Facebook /Teddy Cream, Instagram /Teddy Cream. Our TikTok is probably my favorite. I love our TikTok. It's so much fun, which is, I think it's Teddy Cream on TikTok. SoundCloud and YouTube, Spotify as well. Basically all the big socials. So
I'm not late to the game when it comes to TikTok, but I put my own stuff up there and I laugh my ass off at my own stuff. Going, this is stupid, funny, stupid. But I do a lot of, I'm known as a foodie online. So, if you went to my Facebook, my DJ Sessions is like DJ Session stuff, but I'm now putting a little bit of my food pics there. But if you go to my Facebook, it's like 50% of my pictures that I share up there are meals that I make, and food that I make. And so, it's like, I like to cook. I like to make food. But I've been I've been taking videos, small little videos of the prep that I do for all of my dishes. And then like the other day I put one up and it was with the song Eat It by Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah.
And it was like the different phases really quickly and like, do it, you can't just eat it. I was just like, oh my God, it's a riot. I get it. It's just another social medium I got to put into my overall social media mix and get used to it. Because it isn't just sending a photo or sending a hashtag, which you can do with Instagram. It's different. And Instagram's going to be focusing a lot more on reels now moving forward. They're kind of in a real lull with TikTok taking over. I could talk about social media all day long. I don't need to get into that.
Like I said, our Instagram, we noticed straight away, like as soon as TikTok started taking over, people just were off the platform.
Yep.
They just turned off the platform. Like even I did, because I was kind of like, Instagram, it's just a few photos. They're not really prioritizing their art, like any artists or businesses. They're doing what they did with Facebook. So it was really frustrating. Yep. So I'll go on TikTok.
Yep, exactly.
So just let us post whatever we want, give us decent reach. If people want to see the content, they will. And they did. So yeah. Yep.
I think that's the huge advantage of TikTok right there. You couldn't have summed it up better. It's not owned by Meta and doing the same formula that Meta rolled out with. And social media, it's a game in itself. But like I said, we could talk about that in a
We can do
whole other
we can do a whole
conversation.
other interview
Whole
on
other
this.
interview on
Just
social
pick
media.
brains for a little bit.
But Vincent, thank you so much for coming on the DJ sessions. It was great to having you. We'll definitely be following up with you over the course of the year, staying in touch with you, finding out all the other awesome stuff that's going to be coming up for the both of you this year.
No worries. Thank you so much for having us. I've had a great time. So
you're welcome.
Thank you.
Pleasure was ours. And on that note, don't forget to go to our website, thedjsessions.com. Find us on Facebook, find us on Instagram, find us on TikTok, hashtag the DJ Sessions or TDJS if you're so bold. This is Vincent and I'm Darren. That's Vincent from Teddy Cream. I'm Darren from the DJ Sessions coming to you live for the DJ Sessions presents the virtual sessions. And remember, on the DJ Sessions, the music never stops.